We are live. Okay. So again, next week is Shavuot. So no class next week. We'll do it again in 2 weeks. Okay. So this week's Parashat, obviously, for those who were in shul, we had the tochachot, the kilalot, not so comfortable, being yelled at and told, God forbid, about all kinds of horrible bad things that may happen if we don't follow the Torah. Happens twice in our year. Nobody likes it, but it's something that is part of the Torah and we read it. The Zera Shimshon, he has a couple of questions when it comes to the tochachot. I'm going to read you the first sentence of Parashat behukotai. I didn't send the link out. Should I just do it after? Or people want to do it now? People want to listen to that now? Okay, hold on a second. Okay, I'm going to send it out right now. Hold on. Just once. Okay. Okay, so here we go. So I'm going to read the first pasuk from Parashat behukotai. And the Zera Shimshon has a question on this pasuk. It says, the way it works is, first we get some blessings. If you listen, you get these blessings. If you don't listen, God forbid, you get these curses. God forbid, right? And so how does it work? It starts with the good. It says, Im behukotai telechu. If you go in my ways. Im behukotai telechu. My laws. Ve'et mitzvotai tishmeru. And you keep my mitzvot. Va'azitem otam. And you do them. Then I will give you blessings. Gishmechem beitam, rain, and all the good things. And now how do we start the bad part? V'im lo tishme'uli. If you don't listen to me, v'lo ta'asu, and don't do et kol ha'mitzvot ha'ele, these mitzvot, v'im behukotaitim asu. If you're disgusted with my laws, you're disgusted with my laws. V'im et mishpatai tig'am nafshechem, and with my commandments and my laws, your soul is rejecting. It's like you're gross, you're disgusted by these laws. And you decide not to do my commandments. Then bad things happen. So the Zera Shimshon asks a couple of questions. Number one, wouldn't it be easier just to say, if you follow my mitzvot, you get the blessing. If you don't follow my mitzvot, you get the punishments. Why do we go and have these like tiers? Behukotai telechu, you go on my way in my laws. Mitzvotai tishmeru, keep my mitzvot. You do my mitzvot, and then the inverse. If you don't listen, if you don't do, if you get disgusted, why are the tiers here, the levels? Are they trying to teach us something? Number one. Number two, wouldn't the proper way of saying something, right, is if I tell my child, if you listen to me, you will get a candy. If you don't listen to me, you will not get a candy. That's called using the same words for the good and for the bad. But that's not what God does. He doesn't just use the inverse of what he says. He says, if you go on my ways, it should say, if you don't go on my ways. It doesn't do that. It says, if you don't listen to me. The next part, if you keep my mitzvot, he says, if you don't do my mitzvot. And the next one, where is disgust? He says, if you're disgusted by my mitzvot. What is disgust the inverse of on the good side? Like, you should have said, if you love my mitzvot, but if you hate my mitzvot, like there is no, it's like, it doesn't seem to match. So what's going on here? Zera Shimshon answers and he says, bless you. He says, obviously, it does match. And obviously, if the ending is talking about disgust and emotion, must be the beginning is also talking about disgust and emotion. We have to reread the beginning. And so let's reread the beginning according to the Zera Shimshon. Now that we know that on the negative side, there's an emotional part of it, you're disgusted with my commandments, must be that we have to find that match on the reverse for the good side. And here's how you find it. Im behukotai telechu. If you go in my laws, that mitzvotai tishmeru, and my mitzvot you keep. The word tishmeru is an interesting word. Shamor means to keep. Shamor means to watch. Shamor et yom Shabbat kadeshot, keep Shabbat. Is there a place in the Torah where it uses the word shamor in an emotional way? Yes. When Yosef had the dreams, and he said to his brothers, I had a dream that your stars were bowing down to me. And they told the father, and the father yelled at him and said, what are you talking about? Think you're going to be king over these people? Ve'aviv shamar et hadabar. But his father, shamar, watched the thing? No. Anticipated it. Couldn't wait for it to happen. Yaakov Avinu shamar et hadabar. A shomer means anticipation, excitement. I'm looking forward to this happening. And so Ezra Shimshon is saying, don't miss the emotion in the good side. Don't just think that the good side is all about robotics. Do the mitzvot, you get the reward. No. We need emotion here. Anticipate the mitzvot. Get excited about the mitzvot. And then you get the reward. And on the inverse, you get disgusted with the mitzvot, which means even if you're doing the mitzvah, but you're not happy with it, I hate doing this. I hate praying. I hate going to shul. Or Friday night. I hate Shabbat. So boring. I can't do my phone, right? That's showing a disgust for the mitzvot. That's on the bad side of it. There is an emotional element. It's not just robotics. The hamana liba ba'i. Hashem wants your heart. Hashem wants your heart. There's another element here to the tears. The first question that the Zera Shimshon asked. What is with the levels here? Just say it one time. And he says it's a chain. Hashem is trying to show you there's a path you take. The good path or the bad path. Each step you take leads to another step. That's the way it works in life. I was telling this to my daughter last night. Talking to my daughter yesterday about making good decisions in life. And how if you make a bad decision, you end up one day doing something horrible that you never dreamed you would do, only because of the chain of events. Because I did this, I did that, and then I did that, and then I did that. Before you knew it, you did something you never dreamed you would do. And it works in the good and it works in the bad. And here's the levels. Im behukotai telechu. You keep Hashem's hukim. What type of a mitzvah is a hok? A hok makes no sense. If you keep my hukim, you have a mitzvah that doesn't seem to make a drop of logical sense to you. Why can't I wear my linen jacket? Why do I have to check it to see if there's wool in it? What's the big deal if there's wool in it? Why is that bad? Shatnez is a law that you do not understand. Do you keep that mitzvah happily? Milk and meat. Why do I have to wait 6 hours after I eat meat before I have milk? Why? It doesn't make sense. You keep that mitzvah happily, you're not going to understand every mitzvah Hashem gives you. Even Shabbat, right? Why do I have to keep Shabbat? It makes no sense. Something I always tell over, I've said this a few times, I think, in this class. You look at the pasuk of Shabbat, Kol melacha lo ta'asu. You can't do work on Shabbat. Okay, work, right? We're talking about heretics in the first class before the recording came on. Okay, what would they say? People who take the law literally. Don't do work on Shabbat. Okay, so I have a question for you. And this comes from the Kuzari. The Kuzari, Sefer Kuzari, asks a lot of these types of questions. He says, okay, here's a question for you. I have a Sefer Torah. This thing weighs 60 pounds. I want to carry the Sefer Torah all around the bima so that we can read on Shabbat. Is that work? No, that's not work. That's allowed. Okay, I have a needle and a piece of thread. It's so light, if I drop the thread, I can't even realize I dropped it, right? Oh, I dropped the thread, right? It's so light. I go like this. 1, 2. Hey, that's work. This thing, I'm not even breaking a sweat. It's the easiest thing in the world. I'm chilled. Sefer Torah, I'm wiping my forehead. That's how heavy the thing is. Can I pick up a table on Shabbat? Yes. It says don't work. That's not work, right? How do you define work? Does it make sense? Work is what I tell you work means. Okay. You want the answer? The answer is on Shabbat, the Gemara Shabbat talks about this, you need melechet mahashevet. Work, this is a very interesting topic. One day, if you remind me, we can talk more about it if you would like. Shabbat needs creative. What is work? Work is creativity. Work in Judaism, work in Hashem's eyes is creativity. Nothing is work to God. When Hashem creates the world, nothing is work. God doesn't sweat. Everything is easy for him. What defines work in a godly way? Creativity. I'm making a new idea. I'm making something new. That's work. And so same thing is asur for us on Shabbat. We copy Hashem, right? We don't work on Shabbat because Hashem didn't work on Shabbat. What does that mean? Hashem decided I am no longer, on the seventh day, Hashem decided I am no longer creating new items in the creation. There's a Gemara that says, we know this, Hashem is keeping the world alive. Hashem, like the world is like held up by Hashem. If Hashem would pull away for a second, everything would go poof and disappear. Hashem is kind of recreating the world every millisecond. Why is that not called work? Even on Shabbat, just the fact Hashem lets everything stay in order, that's work. Why is that not called work? It says Hashem doesn't work on Saturday. If Hashem didn't work on Saturday, the whole world should just poof into non-existence. The answer is work is new creativity. Just maintaining old creativity is not called work for Hashem. The same thing for us. This is the answer to Shabbat, since I brought the example. What's forbidden on Shabbat? Creative work. Creating something. And I'll give you one example, just one. Lighting a candle on Shabbat, lighting a flame on Shabbat is not allowed. You're creating a flame. Extinguishing a flame on Shabbat. Now, listen carefully before you take this halachically into your daily lives. Extinguishing, turning off a light on Shabbat is not always forbidden from the Torah. It's forbidden from the rabbis. So don't do it, please. Nobody turn off lights on Shabbat. But the only act of turning off a light on Shabbat that is forbidden from the Torah is extinguishing a flame in order to use the ash for writing something. That is the extinguishing that is asur from the Torah, because it's creating something, it's creative. But from the Torah, if someone turns off a light or blows out a candle, not for any reason, just because I don't want the light anymore, removing something like that is not a Torah prohibition. It's a rabbinic prohibition. You understand what I'm trying to say? So I'm showing you one example how on Shabbat, work is creative work. You're creating something new. Are we good with this? Understand? We can talk about Shabbat a whole nother time. We have to move on. And so therefore, we're talking about hukim. Hukim are laws that don't make any sense. Why can't I pick up a Sefer Torah on Shabbat? I'm allowed to pick up a heavy Torah on Shabbat. That's not called work. But I can't pick up a pen. That's called work. That's mukseh. It's not called work. It's mukseh, actually. Also rabbinical, you should know. Mukseh is from the rabbis. Answer is, it doesn't make sense to you. Do you do it happily or do you do it unhappily? In behukotai telechu. If you follow my laws that don't make sense with a smile, then what's going to happen? Mitzvotai tishmeru. You're going to follow my mitzvot. You're going to keep the Torah. Va'asitem otam. You're going to find yourself doing all the mitzvot from A to Z. You're going to go down the right path. What happens when you go down the right path? Gishmechem be'itam, rain, and panasa, and all good things, all the blessings. Why? Because you took Hashem's most difficult laws, the laws that make no sense to you, and you said, I'm doing that with a smile. Now on the inverse, what happens when someone goes down the wrong path? How does it start? You're disgusted by the laws that don't make sense. I don't blame you. It doesn't make sense. Why can't I have milk 4 hours after I had meat? Why? Right? Why do I have to keep eating milk? Sha'an is, like we said. Other hukim. Why? So you do it, but tim'asu. It makes no sense. I don't like it. I'm disgusted by these laws. I wish I could understand it. What's going to happen next? Et mishpatai tigal nafshechem. What is a mishpat? What type of a law is a mishpat? Mishpatim are laws that make sense. Not stealing is a mishpat. Not murdering is a mishpat. You know what's going to happen if you start fighting the laws that don't make sense? You're going to start being disgusted by the laws that do make sense. You're going to go down a very bad road. I told my daughter, I told my daughter, most people that end up in jail, they never dreamed they would end up in jail. They didn't wake up in the morning and say, oh, let me go commit a crime that's going to put me in jail. They went down a bad path and they end up in jail one day. How could you do such a horrible thing like shooting someone? What are you, out of your mind? Answer is, you start down the bad road and sooner or later shooting someone doesn't seem so bad, right? So what's going to happen is, in behukotai tim'asu, you start hating and being disgusted by the laws that don't make sense, watch out. Soon, you're not going to believe it. You're going to start saying, stealing makes no sense. Stealing makes no sense. Why can't I steal? Right? Justifying that. You're going to justify murder. You could justify all the things that do make sense. And then it's going to lead to a horrible ending, God forbid. You're not going to do any mitzvot, and you're going to find yourself in the punishments, God forbid. And so it's a chain of events here. That's why Hashem decides to put levels here, and not just one line. If you listen, blessing. If you don't listen, curses. No, there's tears. It's a chain. I'm telling you, go down the right path. Because choices, it's all about your choices. You make the bad choice, you're going to find yourself down a crazy path. You're not going to believe that you're going to justify all these. You'll be like a politician justifying stealing all our tax money. Right? That's theft. All our tax money. But it's for the greater good. Yeah? Not to get into politics. You're going to find yourself doing things that make no sense. Okay. This is the Zera Shimshon's quick lesson on the opening and the Pidah. It's a very, very important lesson. Be careful that we do the mitzvot happily, even though we're smart. And people who are very bright and academic and intellectual, it's the hardest for them. So it's a blessing to be smart. It's also a curse to be smart because you think you have to understand everything. Okay. Next. There's a pasuk in here. Rabbi Adaro yesterday in the Dirasha, he spoke about Yom Yerushalayim, which is today. Today's Yom Yerushalayim, the day we celebrate getting Jerusalem back. He spoke about that yesterday, and there's actually a pasuk in our Parashat that links very closely with it. And I just, if I can, continue his Dirasha and link it with what I think is a very strong link to our Parashat. There's a pasuk here. It's in the bad section. If you don't listen to the Torah, the curses and the bad things happen. What does one of the pasukim say? It says over here, "V'hashimoti ani et ha'aretz." If you don't listen, I'm going to destroy. First, before that, it says, Hashimoti it mikdeshechem. I'm going to destroy the Bet HaMikdash, the holy places. Velo ariach v'reach nichachem. I'm not going to want your korbanot and your sacrifices anymore. And the next pasuk, V'hashimoti ani et haaretz. I'm going to destroy and make desolate the land. The land is going to be destroyed. But there's something interesting here. Someone asked me last week, can you show me where they say that there's blessings hidden within all the curses? Can you show me where there's a blessing in the curses? Here's an example where there's a blessing hidden inside the curses. I'm going to make your land desolate. That makes sense. That's not fun. No one wants the land to be desolate. That's interesting. Your enemies who are living in the land, it's going to be desolate for them. That's a curse. The people who take your country, the land's going to be desolate for them. That's a blessing. Buried within the curse is a blessing, which means, yes, the land, I'm going to turn the land of flowing with milk and honey. It's going to stop flowing with milk and honey. It's going to be a disaster land. It's going to be useless for you and for anyone else who takes it. Hidden inside that blessing, that curse is a huge blessing. Rabbi Fran, he says with an example, he says, if you go throughout the course of history to places, regions in the world, countries that were taken by another power, how often does the first power get it back, get that land back? Like Putin is trying to get Ukraine, for example. Not going so well for him right now, right? So he says, imagine Manhattan. Manhattan was what, $24 or something? They purchased Manhattan. Imagine them coming back and saying, you know what, we need Manhattan back. The deal didn't work out for you anyway. It's just some island, right? So we'll pay you the 24, all right, $48 back. All right, $48 billion back from Manhattan. Would they do the sale? No, they would never do that. Manhattan is priceless, right? Because Manhattan flourished. We put Manhattan to work. Israel is not Manhattan. Israel didn't flourish when we got thrown out. When we got thrown out, Israel became useless. It was garbage. The land was trash. That's a huge blessing. Because I'm doing this for you so that when you come back and you get your land back, it won't be so hard. People won't fight so hard for the land. If I made this land fertile and full of blessings for whoever takes it, who's going to ever give you that land back? You'll never get it back. There's an interesting map I want to show you as an example. Rabbi Fran talks about it. He doesn't say this map, but he talks about it and he says, look at the region where Israel is in the Middle East. And look which countries have natural resources. And what does Israel have? Right? You have oil. So I printed an interesting thing. I wish you can see it. YouTube, I'll show these people on YouTube. Look, there's a map of Israel. Here's Israel. Here's all the countries around it. Petroleum, oil, gold, opium, aluminum, petroleum, oil, petroleum, Israel, electronics and software. That's their natural resources. It's like Hashem, this is the capital of the world. This is the place, the Holy Land. You literally surrounded us with wealth and oil, and you couldn't give us a drop? Not a drop? Is that a cursing or a blessing? That's a curse or a blessing. That's a huge blessing. Because no one's going to want that land. If Israel was rich in oil, YouTube people, look at the map. If Israel was rich in oil, like everyone else around them, you'd never get that land back. They'd fight with their lives for that land. The fact that Israel had no natural resources made it a little bit easier to get the land back in a little fight, in a war. Still a miracle that we got it back. But they would never give it back if it was rich in oil and gold and petroleum. Never. What a blessing from Hashem when he says, if you can't have it, no one can have it. And so on today, Yom Yerushalayim, it's a day to think about this and say, thank you, Hashem. Thank you for making the land desolate when all the other people had it. Thank you so much. Because you know what happens? When we come back, it's back to being a land of milk and honey. It's an amazing thing. Israel works for us. It doesn't work for others. When we're in there, bam, the place is rolling. When we're kicked out, the place is garbage. It's an amazing blessing hidden within the curse. Think about this on Yom Yerushalayim. Okay. If you look at the Zerah Shimshon adds one point, and it says if you look at the curses, I'm going to call them the curses, tochachot, of this Parashat, behukotai, there's one more. There's behukotai, we have curses, and then in Parashat kitavo, all the way at the end of the Parashat. Last week in the halakha class for the men, we said, Ezra HaSofer made a decree that the calendar should be the way it is, that we always read Parashat behukotai before Shavuot, always. And we always read Parashat kitavo with the other curses before Rosh Hashanah. Why? Tichle shana v'kililoteha. Let any curses be on last year's ledger. When we go into the holiday of Shavuot, we want to be clean. Let the curses be behind us. When we go into a holiday Rosh Hashanah, New Year, we want to be clean. Let the curses be behind us. Let's start a new year with blessings only, please. Let's get over with the curses. If you look at the curses in this week's Parashat, there are 48 curses. If you look at the curses in Parashat Kitavo, there's double. There's 96 curses. Kitavo is much longer, much harder to read as a Baal Koreh down there. Kitavo, very long. And it's all one giant aliyah. It's 96 curses. This one was 48. Coincidence? Double? Not a coincidence. Who's speaking in these parashiyot? Parashat behukotai is Hashem speaking to us. In behukotai telechu. If you go in my ways. These are the words of Hashem to us. Who's speaking in Parashat Kitavo? Moshe Rabbeinu. The whole Sefer Devarim is Moshe Rabbeinu's speech to us. So Moshe is saying, if you listen to Hashem, if you listen to Hashem, if you don't listen to Hashem, right? When Hashem is speaking to us, he tells us it one time. 48 curses, one time each one. I'm speaking to all of you. But when Moshe Rabbeinu is about to die, and he's giving his last speech before his death to us, and he says, guys, if you don't listen, there's going to be terrible things happening. He doubles each one and makes it 96. He also changes the term, what's the word? Lashon Abim. He changes it from a public, what's the word in grammar? It's slipping my mind. Tense. This Parashat, someone help me out here. This Parashat is written speaking to everyone collectively as a unit. Parashat Kitavo, Moshe is speaking in singular, what's the word? Thank you. I was waiting for you. You saw me looking at you. He's speaking to us, and it's a Lashon Yahid. It's individual Hebrew words. It's not public. It's not a plural. I'm usually good with the English words. I don't know, it's slipping my mind today. Why? And there's a big lesson here. Zeresh Mishon says, because Moshe Rabbeinu is our Rebbe, and he's our Rebbe, and he's telling us, guys, I'm telling you a very big lesson here. Ko Yisrael Arevim Zelazeh. When Hashem spoke to you, he spoke to you all. What I'm telling you is twice. One, make sure you don't do this stuff. Two, look out for your friend. Ko Yisrael Arevim Zelazeh. We're all in the same boat. Moshe Rabbeinu was trying to promote unity from Klal Yisrael. And that's why it's double the amount. Because it's saying, and it's speaking to you personally. Look out for yourself, look out for your friend. This is also a very important lesson when you think about before Shavuot. In the time of the Omer, when the 24,000 students of Rabbi Akiva died, lo nagu kavod ze lazeh, because they didn't treat each other properly. Derech eretz kadma la Torah. Derech eretz, manners, comes before Torah, although that's not the literal meaning of that. Derech eretz really means business, usually, in the Gemara's terminology. Work comes before. But derech eretz also means manners. Manners comes before the Torah, and therefore ahdut, unity, comes before the Torah. If you're going to act in a horrible, selfish way, narcissistic way, but keep all the laws of the Torah, Hashem doesn't care about that. He wants you to first be unified. And so Moshe Rabbeinu is saying in the double lashon, one more lesson from the Zeresh Mishon. Now, right after the curses, the Torah goes into a little housekeeping and has a couple of more mitzvot before we finish the book of Vayikra. What is so a couple of commandments, right? What is the immediate commandment that we do right after the curses? The first commandment that we learn. A new mitzvah, guys. Brand new mitzvah. What is it? It's called arachim. The laws of arachim. I don't think this is very well known by most people. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. Arachim means someone who says, I want to donate to God. I want to donate to the Beit HaMikdash. What do you want to donate? I want to donate the value of my life. Or I want to donate, let's say a guy says, the value of my wife's life. Why would someone do this? So the commentaries say, well, either maybe God forbid someone's sick, and they say, Hashem, please give it to my wife, and I'm going to give a value of her life to you. Or someone could do it in thank you. Thank you, Hashem, for giving me success and helping me. I'm going to give you the value of my life. There could be different reasons why someone does this. It's a very unique mitzvah called arachim. Erech means value. How do you determine how much your life is worth? Does it go like on an individual basis? Is my life worth less than Bill Gates' life or Jeff Bezos? How exactly does this work? Or an athlete making $50 million? How do you determine someone's value of their life? The Torah says, Hashem says, I have preset values. There are 4 age groups. This is ageism, 100% ageism, right? I am dividing you by age. If you are in this age group, your life is worth this much. I don't care if you're Bezos. I don't care if you're Elon Musk. I don't care if you're a nobody. I don't care if you're homeless. If you're in this age group, your life is worth this amount. Everyone pays the same amount of money. It's very interesting. Is this a hawk? The Ibn Ezra seems to say it's a hawk. It makes no sense. Maybe we can find some sort of sense in it. The Ben Ish Hai has a very interesting explanation that can add some sense to this. So there's 4 age groups. A baby in Judaism, a baby is not considered a fully alive person until the baby is 30 days old. So the first age group is from the 30 days old until 5 years. That person will pay shikalim, predetermined set of shikalim. The next age group is from 5 years old to 20. If you're in that age group and you donate the value of your life, or someone donates the value of your life, your father, your mother, your aunt, or whatever, they have to pay a little bit more money because of the value of your life. And if the person's in the age group between the age of 20 and 60, that's the most valuable lifespan. Those are the most valuable years. And so that's the most amount of money you have to pay. It's a preset value for everyone. And the last one is someone who's over the age of 60 until they pass away. These are the 4 categories. Now, what's the value of life? It's such an amazing thing. It's different. Yeah, thank you for that. I was trying to avoid that. I could always count on you. It is different. So I wanted to go into that, but I just don't have enough time. But I'm going to give you an answer to another question, and that answer is really the answer to that question too. So if you put two and two together, you'll be there. The value of life really is your opportunity to collect mitzvot and good deeds down here in this world. That's what life is all about. What is the purpose of life? To earn as much of a bank account as you can for the next world. To earn the closest place to Hashem as possible in the next world. This world is fleeting. This world is in, this world is out. It's a tough world. It's not easy to live. The only thing free is air. Everything else you have to pay for in this world, right? It's all about the next world. We build towards the next world. It's one of the fundamentals in Judaism. Like we always say, if someone doesn't believe in the next world, they need to go to someone immediately and study and understand why it's the most important value in Judaism that there is a next world. It's vital, right? The value of life down here is to get to work. Adam le'amal yulad, a person was created to work down here. Get to work in spirituality and create yourself a high spot in the next world. That's why everyone has the same value. Because it doesn't matter Bezos or me. We're not talking about money. We're talking about opportunity. He has the same opportunity because, well, he's in the other age group probably, but someone else would have the same opportunity as me to collect as many mitzvot and good deeds as possible. Why the 4 age groups? Ben Ish Hai has an interesting answer. He says there are 4 times that we find a mashal, a parable, to the purpose of life. 4 times. And he says as follows. The first one is in Avot. I wanted to read this, but I don't have it with me. Pirkei Avot. Pirkei Avot that we read between Pesach and Shavuot says, this world is just, in English they say a vestibule, right? It's just a corridor, a foyer. It's okay. If you want to look it up, it's Pirkei Avot, chapter 1, number 4. Thank you. Good service. Pirkei Avot, chapter 1, Mishnah 4. It says, no, not 4. It says, maybe 4:1. May as well do it by heart. This world is, I can't even find it. This world is a vestibule for the next world. It's a foyer, which means you're entering this huge mansion, you're entering the castle, and there's a little like mud room beforehand, there's like a little tiny room, a holding area. And then once you get past that area, you get into the huge ballroom of the next world. That's the way that the Pirkei Avot says you should look at yourself. So here, the ballroom, the party is coming. That's after 120 years. Right now is your last chance. Go in the mirror, straighten your tie, fix your hair, because you're about to go see the king. So you better get to work down here. So you're presentable. You don't want to get to the next world and not be presentable. You want to get to the next world, presentable. Hashem, I'm all put together. I followed your mitzvot. I did good deeds. I learned some Torah. I was a good person. Now I'm ready to greet the king. That's the way Pirkei Avot says to look at this world. For someone who's in that highest age group, above the age of 60, they're almost there. They're almost seeing, it should be 120 years, which means you should have 60 more years left, but you're closer to seeing the party, the ballroom, Hashem. Last chance. Look in the mirror. God willing, 60 more years. Look in the mirror, straighten your tie, fix your hat, get your things in order, make sure you're spiritually clean. If you have a stain on your shirt, every sin is a stain. Wipe that stain off, do teshuvah. When you do teshuvah, it wipes the stain away. Now your shirt is clean. You're going to go see the king. What's another mashal that they say for this world in comparison to the next world? I brought this Tanakh Art Scroll because I want to use Art Scroll's translation. For the English Art Scroll Tanakh, Kohelet, I cannot say that word in English. I try every single time. Ecclesiastes. Kohelet, chapter 12, Pasuk 4. And he says as follows, also very famous words. I know everyone knows this. I'm just going to read it in English. He says, actually not this one, you know the next one. Well, maybe you know this one too. He says, let's read it in English. Remember your Creator in the days of your youth, before the evil days come, those years arrive, of which you will say, I have no pleasure in them. So remember Hashem before the old age comes, when you start losing pleasure in this world. You can't do the things you used to do. Before the sun, the light, the moon, and the stars grow dark. What is that? Oh, okay. Before the sun, the light, the moon, and the stars grow dark, and the clouds return after the rain, in the day when the guards of the house will tremble. And what does the next pasuk say? When the doors in the shuk are shut. The shuk is closing. The market is closing. And so they use this analogy for Friday, before Shabbat. Before Shabbat, you have to get all the food. We can't cook on Shabbat. You can't use an oven on Shabbat. And so on Friday, you better run to the market. You have no food in the house, and you better get whatever food you can purchase that you're going to need for the next day. We have a 3-day holiday coming up with Shavuot, right? You better get some food and prepare. Think ahead, because what are you going to eat for 3 days? Someone who doesn't prepare on Friday got nothing to eat on Shabbat. And so if we don't prepare down here, this is Friday. This is Friday, and the next world is Shabbat. If we don't prepare down here, you're not going to have something to eat up there, right? The shuk is closing. We're in the shuk now, the market. It's busy and it's closing. So get to work and get everything you need for your family. The shuk, the Ben Ish Chai says, is a crazy, hectic place. I guess the shuk was the same thing in his days than it was in these days. The shuk is a hectic place. Everyone's running and bustling and selling and buying, and it's loud. But everyone knows this is the world, this is the spot I need to be at to get everything I need for my family. So let's do it. Well, the years between 20 and 60 are very hectic years. The family, the kids, the babies, the school, the high school, in trouble, cars, licenses, marriage, grandkids. It's just a very hectic time. That's the shuk. You're in the shuk. I know it's hectic. You gotta get all the stuff you need. Did you collect all your stuff? Get to work and get buying. Get your provisions for the next world. There's another spot in Tanakh. Now this one I know everyone for sure knows. This is in Mishleh. Mishleh, Proverbs 6:6. I'm going to read it in English also. He says, go to the ant. Yeah? Lech el nemala. Go to the ant, you lazy person. Learn from the ant, the little bug. See its ways and grow wise. Though there is neither officer over the ant nor a guard, she prepares her food in the summer and stores up food in the harvest time for the winter. The ant thinks ahead. Bugs think ahead. They prepare their food for later. How long will you sleep? When will you wake up from your sleep? A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding your hands, reclining. Poverty can come like a traveler, and you will be lacking. The Mishleh. Go to the ant. You have all summer to prepare. The ant has the whole summer season to prepare. A lot of time. You got to get to work. Let's bring it back to the Nimshal. A person who is in between the ages of 5 and 20, plenty of time. You have the whole summer. You got to get to work. Are you going to start getting in the right mind frame? Are we teaching you about what is food in the spiritual world? Because you don't take your money with you. You don't take your money with you, or your good looks, or all the novels that you read, and all the you don't take it with you. The only currency in the next world is Torah and mitzvot, good deeds. It's all that matters. So all the stuff you leave behind. So we teach our kids, get like an ant and prepare. We have one more age group. The Baal HaAkedah, he has another example, Ben Ish Chai says, for this world. He says, you can think of a parable as a city that was before they had technology. So they sent people by boat to places. There were no phones. There was a poor village, and they wanted to get involved in a business investment. They heard that in a faraway country, they do with textiles. They make a lot of money. They're very valuable stuff. They're very poor here. And so they took a young businessman and they said, we will all invest in you. Each of us will give you some of our money. We'll send you and we'll pay for the boat. We'll send you to the faraway land. Invest in the textiles there. do business there for a bunch of years, come back, bring all the money back, and give it to our children. We're making you we're investing in you. Now the guy has a choice. He has all this money in a new fancy land. Does he go and he invests like he's supposed to? And he brings back riches to his family and to other people's families? Or does he go and he just spends the money on bars and drinks, at the game, gambles, has a good time, buys nice clothes, he has all their money? Does he do his job or not? The same thing is when we send a new soul to this world. Hashem sends a new baby to this world. And Hashem says, I'm sending you down to this world, and I want you to go invest and collect the currency that we need. Torah and mitzvot, good deeds. Is this baby going to go with his life on a faraway place down here on earth and just have a great time enjoying and come back empty-handed? Or will the baby do what the baby's supposed to do? Become an investor, take your God-given talents, which is what he invested in you, and bring to your family in Shamayim, your grandparents and parents and cousins in Shamayim, bring them back some nahat, bring them back some wealth. That's the age group of 30 days to 5 years old. And so the Ben Ish Chai is teaching us the laws of arachim, the laws of valuing a life. It's all about opportunity to collect mitzvot, opportunity to do good deeds. And the 4 categories represent the 4 stages that a person finds himself in this world in comparison to the next world. It puts a lot of thought into how we treat our days. We're not just here to enjoy, you're allowed to enjoy. Judaism is a great religion because we encourage eating and drinking and all that stuff, but we have to keep our eye on the prize, because what's the currency above? What's the currency in Shamayim? We can't bring back, beer and good times. That's great down here. That doesn't mean anything in Shamayim. You got to have a bank account with the money that really works up there, the currency that works up there. And so the Ben Ish Chai, that's a very interesting spin he puts on the arachim. When it comes to the arachim, they're right after the curses. Why did Hashem arrange this law? It's an interesting law of the person who says, I want to donate the value of my life right after the curses. Rabbi Friend brings a very famous saying from the Satmar Rebbe. The Satmar Rebbe was a very, very, very big rabbi, and he used to give berachot to his students all the time, blessings. One time he had to go on a trip somewhere. He was going to be away for a while. His students came to him and said, Rebbe, when you're gone, if we need blessings, rifu'ah, siduchim, health, hanasaf, we need blessings, who do we go to when you're gone? And he answered them, he said, go to the local shul and look around. When you see a man wrapping tefillin over an arm with a numbered tattoo on that arm, get a blessing from that man. That man is valuable to Hashem. Why is the tochaha right before the arachim? Why, when we talk about this value of life mitzvah, is it right after the hardships of the tochaha, the curses? Because someone who goes through this whole ordeal of a rough life and rough slaps from Shamayim, and he still says, I want to donate something to Hashem. I want to give the value of my life to Hashem. That person, you have value. So now some of us, we know family, we've had family members who went through the Holocaust, right? We're in Shaarey Yerushalayim. Some people died fighting for the country of Israel, right? Some people had a very, very hard time. Do they still make Kiddush on Friday night? Right? They still put tefillin, they light candles Friday night. That person's amazing. That person goes through it all and still says, I want to donate something to Hashem. That is a person that has value. So some of us have minor ordeals in comparison to those ordeals. We all go through stuff. If you're going through something now, or if you just came out of something right now, if you had an ordeal in your life, very, very difficult ordeal, and you're still on the right track, and you still want to work for Hashem and donate something to Hashem, Hashem says you're so valuable. You're a person that can give blessing to other people. That's why the arachim, the laws of valuing, is right after the tochaha. It's linked. That person is the most valuable. One more thing. Now that we spoke about the value of every minute in this life, That's the purpose of living. We're coming to Shavuot. We're coming to Matan Torah. The holiday next week, this time next week will be Shavuot. It's the time of the year when we receive the Torah all over again. It's not just a thing that happens in the past. We relive it every single year. The Hidushei Harim says, he asks a question. We say, Zeman Matan Toratenu. It's a time of the giving of the Torah. Matan Torah. We call it Matan Torah. Why don't we call it Kabbalat Torah? Matan Torah is God. Matan means the giving. God gave it. We received it. We should be celebrating the fact that we got the Torah, not that God gave the Torah. Who did he give it to? Maybe he gave it to someone else. Oh, he gave it to us. So let's celebrate Kabbalat Torah, right? Our acceptance of the Torah. And what's the answer he gives? He says, Hashem can give the Torah. He can put it out there. There's no day on the calendar where it's magically received by you. You want the Torah? You have to go get it. Kabbalat HaTorah is up to you and me individually. Hashem says, here's the Torah for whoever wants it. You want the Torah? You have to get it. We're not going to call it Kabbalat Toratenu because for some people it's not Kabbalat Toratenu. They're not doing anything to get the Torah, to take it. So the offer is literally sitting there. There's a hand stretching down from Shamayim, handing you the riches. You're not taking it. So we're calling the holiday Matan Torah. Hashem is giving it. Taking, that's up to you. Are you willing to put in a little bit of work to take the Torah? Then it'll be Kabbalat Torah for you also. So for the women and for the men, both. Now, if you have men in your lives, if you have a husband, a son, a brother, a father, a cousin, anyone you know, it's so important to push the men. I only say this, I make this appeal every so often to the ladies. It's time for it again. It's so important to push the men in your lives. The men have a mitzvah, v'hagita bo yomam v'layla. The men are supposed to be learning Torah day and night. As just exactly the way that verse sounds is the way it should work. We don't need any crazy derasha to explain this pasuk. V'hagita bo yomam v'layla. Take it literally. They should learn Torah day, which means when the sun is shining, and night, when the sun is not shining. Can we please make sure every male person in our lives is following this mitzvah? Which means go over to your husband or to your brother or to your son and say, did you study Torah in the daytime today? No. Well, hurry up because the sun is about to set. Did you study Torah in the nighttime tonight? No, I'm tired. But it says you have to study Torah at night, day and night. How do you not do what the pasuk says? V'hagita bo yomam v'layla. Yes, we work. I work. Yes, we work. We have kids. We have a whole thing going on. We have balagan. But we have to accept the Torah. Do we want the Torah or not? Matan Torah is next week. Some of us are not going to be in a shul for Matan Torah. Some of us are going to be in a vacation place for Matan Torah. You better make sure you receive that Torah wherever you are. Because it's not just going to fall into your lap. Hashem is putting it halfway. You have to take the rest of it. Don't snooze on the Torah. Don't snooze on it. And so therefore, I'm making an appeal again for the ladies, especially for the men in your lives. Push the men. Push them. Push them. You are our bosses. I always say this example. You are. If you have an assembly line, you have an assembly line down in the factory. We've done this before, right? You have an assembly line in Detroit where they're making cars. Ford is making cars. This is the way it looks. You have a bunch of guys downstairs. One guy screws the bolts. One guy bangs the hammer all day. That's what he does. Those guys are all called men. That's what the men are doing, okay? The men are just doing this all day long. And then if you look up, you have a big glass wall and someone's looking down the wall. You know what that person is? That's the woman, okay? The woman is the manager over the men, right? The woman is in charge of looking over the men and saying, hey, get to work. No sleeping on the job. You sleep when it's break time. Men are supposed to be busy, and the women are managing the men. Women have another job also. You know what their second job is? Interviews, new people for the job, babies, children, new classes. Hey guys, we have someone new. Go join the force. Women are in charge of recruiting. Women are in management, recruiting, hiring, training, overseeing, right? It's a very important job. Why don't women do mitzvot all day long? How come we don't do mitzvot all day long like men? It's not fair. It's not fair. You want to do this all day long? Right? Now we say a beracha. We say, thank you, Hashem, for making me a man that I get to do your mitzvot all day long. I'm very happy because it's still the word of Hashem. But women shouldn't feel slighted. You're the manager. The manager doesn't have to do all the stuff that the person stocks shelves. You want to stock shelves? No, look over the person stocking the shelves, right? You have a bigger job. And so push the men. Push your workers. If you have a man in your life, he's your employee. Push him. They work for you. Push them. Don't be embarrassed. And women have their own Torah also to learn as well. There are many laws for women, and there are many, we have a whole Tanakh. And so, luckily, you women are here now learning. I don't have to talk to you. You're here. But we have to accept the Torah. We have to make an effort. We have to go the other, because what is life all about? Opportunity to accept more. That's all it's about, as it says straight out in the Torah. How do you value life? We all have the same value. I'm just as valuable as someone else. We have the same value. Why do we have the same value? Because we have the same opportunity. Time is the resource that we all share. Right? Hashem says, I gave you a few years in this world, and I gave Elon Musk a few years in this world. You both have the same opportunity. Opportunity for what? Not for money, to collect mitzvot. Everyone can do it equally. And that's why we all have the same exact predetermined value. So every minute in life, no matter where you are, it says straight out, no matter where you are, you're valuable. And so let's not sleep at it. Let's get into the shuk, let's buy our stuff. Let's fix our tie before we go into the grand ball and Shavuot next week. Let's make an effort for ourselves to take the Torah and to push the men in our lives that they should study Torah Ve'agita bo yomam v'layla, every single day and every single night, except for Tisha B'Av, every other night, without fail. And that is my message for today. I hope we all do it. Next week, no class at Shavuot. Enjoy your holiday. We'll see you, God willing, in 2 weeks.